Preseason game number 3 is in the books, and the Saints move to 2-1 with a 28-13 win over the New York Jets here in the Meadowlands. Todd Graffagnini, John DeShazer. It is the wrap-up show in the dress rehearsal. Game number 3. JD, the Saints pass with flying colors.
I would say this, Graff. I think preseason game number 2, the win against the Chargers, not very, but unsatisfying, okay? Unfulfilling. This one I thought was very filling. And you saw the number 1 offense with Drew Brees on the field, march down the field for a quick touchdown. That was his work for the night. The number 1 defense goes out and it pitches a shutout, forces a couple of punts, and creates a turnover. I thought they got everything they possibly could have wanted out of those first 2 units. That second drive that winds up in a field goal, but Drew Brees is off the field and they get a little bit sloppy. But other than that, I thought they got pretty much what they wanted to out of the starters.
Yeah, it was just such a sloppy game and a tough game to watch, really, from the second quarter on because of the amount of penalties. And both teams were flagged plenty. There were 31 combined penalties in the ball game. A game that lasted nearly 4 hours of real time, and it's just hard to get in any type of rhythm and flow when that's happening.
Yeah, that really, it pretty much destroys the rhythm. And then you've got a bunch of young guys who are trying to, win jobs. And, the thing that you see in those instances are you see technique breakdowns and maybe a couple of physical breakdowns, but mostly technique breakdowns. When you're talking about holding penalties, those are technique breakdowns. And so guys are just trying to make plays and hold on the best they can. And those are the things that the coaches say, okay, we can coach out of them, but you want to do it quick, fast, and in a hurry because the regular season is barreling upon us and you're making those kinds of errors and you just don't want to see it happen. Fortunately for the Saints, most of those errors didn't come from the starters. Right. So that's the positive, if there is a positive from it, but you don't like to see those penalties with any players.
Well, Saints quarterback Drew Brees, 8 plays, first drive of the ball game, takes the team down, and they get a touchdown. Nice throw to Michael Thomas, who made a great catch right here in the end zone. And then it was Teddy Bridgewater for the rest of the half. 26 attempts, he had 15 completions, no interceptions, no touchdowns, but a quarterback rating of 73. He performed much better than he did in LA.
Yeah, I thought he was a lot more crisp and clean in this performance. Teddy's got a lively arm, and I thought he fit some throws in. Had a couple of, I thought maybe drops, and so some things to work on in terms of chemistry with the receivers. But I thought he looked thousands of times better than he did against the Chargers. He was ill, and he looked the part when he played against the Chargers, and he's better, and he looked the part against the Jets.
And the first team D pitched a shutout. We saw Marcus Davenport in on the quarterback, Sam Darnold forcing a grounding penalty, Marshawn Lattimore with a strip as far as a fumble goes, and a nice return that got called back. But again, you're forcing turnovers, and again, the D pitches a shutout early.
Yeah, you can't ask for a whole lot more from the defense. We've seen that from them in back-to-back weeks, as a matter of fact. Against the Chargers, that starting defense played well, and here they played well again against the Jets. Really got after the quarterback. They stopped the run pretty well. Did everything you can want.
All right, let's go to the podium and hear from Saints head coach Sean Payton.
We were able to gather some momentum on the first drive, made a few plays. It was good to see. Played a lot of different guys, combinations tonight. But I think there are a handful of things that were encouraging. We turned the ball up. We forced a turnover early in the game. I thought our first units played well. I thought the seconds played better this week. It's good to get the punt return for a touchdown. I'm sure when we put the tape on, there'll be some things we want to clean up, but I was overall pretty encouraged.
Now let's head into the Saints locker room and hear from the players.
Surreal feeling. Just thanking my guys up front for holding up for me, and the coaches for having faith in me after that play that I messed up early in the game, having confidence in me to go out there and make another play. Man, it's an unbelievable feeling. I just thank God, thank my teammates, and just thanking the coaches. Man, all I can do is go out there and play and take it play by play and try to do what I do best.
When we return to the Saints wrap-up show here on CST, we'll talk about the night for quarterback Drew Brees. Welcome back to the Saints wrap-up show here on CST. The New Orleans Saints defeat the New York Jets in preseason game number 3, 28-13. Todd Graffagnini along with John DeShazer here at MetLife Stadium. JD, Drew Brees orchestrates a touchdown drive in his only action. 8 plays. He was 4 of 6 throwing the football, had the touchdown to Michael Thomas. You could tell after the game might have been a little salty. I think if he had his way, he would have gone back out there, but Sean Payton had seen enough, and Brees put the baseball cap on after the 8-play drive.
Yeah, I don't think he was overjoyed with the 8 plays, but look, you don't get to be as great as Drew Brees is without being a little bit greedy when it comes to getting reps. He wants all the reps, and he wants to play as long as possible, but he was so efficient, so he should blame himself. He was so efficient in that 1 touchdown drive that Coach Payton probably said, you know what, it's the preseason, we've seen enough, we got exactly what we wanted out of that drive, and there's no reason to put you to the hazard. Probably wanted to get a little bit more work for Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy was sick last week, feeling better, so probably wanted to get him a few more reps, and then to get Taysom Hill to finish out the game.
Let's go to the podium and hear from quarterback Drew Brees.
Anytime you can go down and get points, get a touchdown, that's good. Felt like it was pretty efficient for the most part. It wasn't a big sample, right? Big sample size. I don't even know how many total plays we ran on that. 8? Yeah. I was hoping to get 15 or 20, but I know there was a plan to pull a few of us out, after a short while and get some other guys work. But yeah, always good to go down and get points. Yeah, he caught a couple balls, a couple big plays, right? So yeah, it's like I said. It's only 8 plays, compared to the thousands of snaps we get in practice and everything else together. So we're constantly striving to get better and just be as efficient as we possibly can together.
Well, JD, the big news of the night around the NFL was the sudden retirement of Colts quarterback Andrew Luck. The press box was in shock. Twitter absolutely blew up. Nobody expected it. And obviously Drew Brees, who had come off a shoulder injury back in '06, and they had a lot of empathy for Andrew Luck. They're friends. Big topic in the media room after the ball game.
Graff, I think we're all still shocked. He's 29 years old, and you don't necessarily expect a guy to retire at the arc that he was in his career, and yet, the injuries and the constant rehab, and he said the pain really took a toll on him, and you can certainly empathize and sympathize and understand that when he explained it the way he did, basically saying, look, I just mentally couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, let's go to Drew Brees, who again put himself in Andrew Luck's shoes.
Yeah, I think I'm probably like everybody else, a bit surprised and stunned too. We heard it when we were on the sideline, actually. Somebody had gotten wind of it during the game. So, listen, Andrew's a friend. We'll exchange text messages with him from time to time. So, I'll be reaching out to him to check on him. You definitely have your moments, especially at the end of a hard-fought season, tough season, especially times where you maybe have been battling injuries and that kind of thing. We've all been there, I can't speak for exactly, his situation, but, I remember speaking to him when he was going through the shoulder issue, 2 years ago, and obviously that was a really tough deal, but man, he responded, right? Had such a phenomenal season last year, and that was the result of so much hard work from last offseason. I feel like I was privy to some of the things that he was doing to get himself back to playing again. And the people that he was working with. And so, I've always thought so highly of Andrew, still do. He's obviously a great football player, but I think anybody that's been around him would say, he's a great guy too. And so, man, you hate to see something like that. And I don't know if that's permanent or if that's just short term or what. But, listen, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and in my opinion, and still has a ton of upside, right? And a ton of QB life left if he chooses to want to come back and do that.
Final segment of the New Orleans Saints wrap-up show here from the Meadowlands. The Saints defeat the Jets 28-13 in preseason game number 3. Todd Graffagnini, John DeShazer here at MetLife Stadium. JD, we would be remiss if we did not talk about Mr. Electricity, Deonte Harris, a 79-yard punt return. You kind of had the feeling he was going to pop one. He absolutely did it in the fourth quarter, and it is going to be awful tough to leave this guy off the 53-man roster.
Oh, Graff, neither of us belongs in Jackson Square, but both of us at some point had predicted this guy's going to pop one. He's going to get a seam. On that punt return, he made one guy miss, and he was gone. And that's the kind of electricity he brings to this team. That's the reason they brought him in to try out for that position. It looked like it was going to be a competition. Marcus Sherrills hadn't been on the field, and it's tough to make the team when you hadn't made any contributions. And now Deonte Harris has taken one to the house. But even though he puts one on the ground, he recovers nicely by taking a punt back 79 yards, and that's the missing element for this team, special teams wise. They have pretty much everything else you want, but now you've got a guy that can take it to the house at any time.
No question about it. All right, that's going to wrap it up from the Meadowlands. Don't forget a short week coming up as the final preseason game from the Mercedes-Benz Superdome will take place on Thursday against the Miami Dolphins. That is a 7 o'clock kickoff. And then it is cut down day next weekend. They'll go from 90 to the 53. The regular season is nearly upon us. Stick around this week. We'll be back on CST to cover the Saints locker room in preseason as far as game number 4 coming up. For John DeShazer, this is Todd Graffagnini. We'll see you next time right here on CST.